You're listening to Co-op Radio 100.5 FM and coopradio.org. It's 5 o'clock and it's Metis Matters Radio time!
Into your Google Play Store and then download the Radio Player Canada app, and you can listen to your favorite radio station, Co-op Radio CFRO 100.5 FM.
You're listening to Co-op Radio 100.5 FM and coopradio.org. It's 5 o'clock and it's Metis Matters Radio time!
Hey, Tachkiwa, everybody. Hi, guys. Thank you very much for joining me on Metis Matters Radio on the CFRO 100.5 FM. Thank you for joining me on my Facebook chat room as well as my YouTube. I'm still getting all these glitches all worked out, but so far, so good. Yeah, we're doing well. I have two kinds of Facebook pages. So to warn some of you folks who are asking me how come I'm not on the other one. Let's put it this way. Facebook don't like people discussing anything to do with what's going on right now in our Indigenous community. And now they've become a little discreet about wanting to share or talk about regarding the Indigenous children, the ones that have died and have lost their lives. So when you are saying something against a government or a comment, they have a tendency of wanting to tell you, here's the warning. Under their Canadian standards, they will stop you from actually speaking further on it. Some people are actually going ahead doing it. Some have not been bothered. But because I have a certain page that has been, I could say, had become very informative of what's going on in our community, all across Canada and across the world, that they made a decision to, take me out for another 30 days again. And that happens. You if you're speaking up for yourself, that's exactly what they have intended on doing. They just say, well, we don't like what you are saying about your government or whatever, anything to do with government, and then they have to say, no, okay, you're kicked out. So I got blocked for another 30 days. It was 60 days until I wrote to them. I told them it was very unfair for what they're doing. They're saying under their standards. I look for those standards. All they put in there specifically says that I was doing harm, that I could cause harm. And thinking, okay, well, everybody is discussing it. I didn't agree what our government's doing or saying, or I basically said something that went after someone in Alberta, a government official who accused our First Nations friends, sisters and brothers, about them accused them saying that they're the ones that are burning the churches down. And they found out later it wasn't our people. And yet they won't go any further with it with the MSM, mainstream media. They won't discuss it. Mind you, our station, Cooperative Radio, we're not mainstream media. We are informative radio. We are we basically why we call cooperative co-op radio is because we're community radio. We like to share with the public the truth. We like to share with you that so many things are happening in our community that we find that's very vitally important to share with people, not just about news, but all kinds of current events and community events and happening all across Canada, United States, you name it. Wherever we're able to do, we do. That's why we're here. So what I'm doing basically is from my program with Metis Matters here, Metis Matters Radio, that I like to talk about all kinds of Indigenous things that relates to importance to all of us, right? Our people. So I decided to use my other page, is what I'm on right now, for Facebook, and this is only a temporary thing until I get my other page back. But we're also on YouTube as well. Thank you guys for joining me in both chat rooms. I really appreciate it. And so basically what's happening is that some of you may not have known what's going on, but we do have ground penetrating radar. Pardon me. When I get really into it, I guess my voice is beginning to speak out. We have ground penetrating radar that is going across all the grounds of every residential school. It will be going across all the grounds in every residential school, whether the building is there or not. Now, I discuss this every week, but it's important because this is ongoing. And it's not, folks, this is not old news. It's been going on now for, I would say, the last couple months. And yet the mainstream media will not discuss it for some reason. They have a tendency of not wanting to mention it. If they do, it's very little of it. And if they do discuss it, it's all about, you'll always hear a story of tragedy of a church being burnt down, or tragedy of our children that we are stepping up for them at the Truth and Reconciliation locations, whether it's City Hall, whether it's libraries, you name it, locations where the children, that we we put shoes out there for them. We lay the shoes out for the children, or whatever, teddy bears, you name it, and to honor them that lost their lives, that these are the children that are buried in unmarked graves. Now, it was done by the priests, or the whatever, how you want to call them, Catholic, Lutheran, Anglican, whatever, how that worked out, including the nuns. I mean, these are people that were responsible. Instead of actually marking the grave saying this poor child passed away, he or she, they unmark the graves because they don't want to take responsibility. And that's one of the things that most these priests that from across Canada did not take. I said most, not all. Most did not take responsibility of marking the name of the child, saying that he or she passed away. Most of the time they'll say the child ran away, or at very little of times they ever say they died of consumption, or they died of a flu, or they died of something else. And we all know for a fact that most of our children were either militarily tested with certain kinds of, because basically, the British government, they're the ones that were telling the churches what to do. So most of the kids were experimental, and it's sad to hear that say the truth, but it's true. Most of our Indigenous children were actually used as guinea pigs, and it's absolutely horrible. But and some of them actually had passed through, natural passing. So I'm sure they've had probably the cold or flu and consumption as that as well. But not let's put it this way, not 70,000 or about 100,000 children that are still unmarked graves, still missing from this day. That when residential school started, that's way too many kids. There wasn't any. There wasn't any Black Plague. There was no COVID at the time. So why did these children die so fast, so quickly? I mean, this is basically the question that we've always asked. So meantime, you ask the priest, or you ask the minister, where are these children? What did they die of? And they had no comment. So basically here, this is the thing, folks. This is the thing that we need to let the public know the truth. They need to know, the public, the citizens of Canada need to know the truth. Sure, we have different projects happening, and we want to, myself, beginning, I'll be honest with you folks, I've been part of the Truth and Reconciliation. I was with a group at the very beginning from 2008. We did meet up at the River Cree Resort in Calgary. And this was where we had the Truth and Reconciliation gathering that with Health Canada. There's over 250 of us that actually gathered there, and I mentioned this earlier. But nothing was ever really entirely, as far as I'm concerned, really fixed, or any proposal that was actually to conclude healing centers for our people. Nothing was ever mentioned. There were a few people that did get, I guess you'd say, financially paid for their, I guess you'd say, pain, and from the past. But again, when they sign that piece of paper, once you get that check in the mail, so to speak, you can't mention it anymore. They made sure that you cannot mention it, because it's basically saying, if you say anything more negatively about the government after we give you this check, then we can sue you. So it is a fear-mongering thing, and this has been going on for over 150 years regarding our Indigenous children at residential schools. So you're watching me live on location, folks, here in my studio, and yes, we are in the studio live, folks. If you're looking at the top left corner, it says live. We're live. So thank you guys for being part of the chat room. Travis, nice to see you, my friend, up in northern Alberta. A lot of people in the chat room today, even in the Eastern Coast. Yeah, it's nice to see all you guys. So we got a lot of people at Métis from the Eastern Coast that are in the chat room. And thank you guys for being part of this program, because there's so much to talk about. And yeah. So anyways, like I said before, we're here specifically. I want to bring up, I don't want to drive this to the ground completely, but I want to just give you guys a bit of enlightenment what's really going on in the community, because not everybody's telling you the complete story, why all these children went missing, why the community needs to know the truth. And so, like I said before, what they have right now is called ground penetrating radar, which it looks like a lawnmower in a way, and it goes across the grounds back and forth as if you're mowing your grass. So it will actually find out what's down below the ground, and so it'll indicate, it's like an X-ray, and it'll show you what it is. So then that's where they dig and find those young children. So this is what's been going on, and we're still, there's more residential schools to this day now. They're still finding more. Every school they've gone so far, not one that actually said there's nothing here. Now, question is, why are the churches being burnt down? Why and burnt down? Why and who? And I use the word who is burning these churches down, whether it's before or after they find these children. But I've noticed that there's more churches being burned down, even not anywhere near residential schools. So there are people, and we've actually, what I am told through my sources, that there were non-Indigenous people now wearing masks and caught either painting red or orange and or even burning or beginning to burn a church. It's come to the point where our people, I'm not talking about just the First Nations, Métis, or Inuit, but all of our people are not the only ones that are agreeing with us. We don't agree for churches to be burnt down because the evidence, folks, is in the church. I've been told many stories that when they renovated churches and they open up some walls to upgrade them to, for example, insulation, that sort of thing, they would find wrappings of babies wrapped in either newspaper or cloth of some sort in the walls of these churches, and even walls of common government buildings. But they would find them in the basements. So this was going on for a long, long time. I'm not saying that every child is in the basement in a brick wall, but I'm not saying just what color the skin, but I'm talking, or any race should say, but I'm saying this has been going on for a long time. So we need to start to help let others know that, to understand one thing, folks, if you cannot, please do not make an attempt to burn any more churches, because you may be angry and it may pain you because you found these children. But inside those churches, especially the church base, there is more evidence, and you need that evidence. Not just the bodies. You need more evidence, because inside those furnaces is more DNA. But if those churches go down, that's what you need to find. What is in the furnace? What is in the brick walls in the basements? Because I'm telling you, there's more evidence. There's got to be. So I'm not trying to be the detective. I'm just telling you, folks, because your government will not tell you what to do. Now, what I find interesting, they hired an Indigenous person recently to represent the Canadian government as the Actor General, and interesting that she's Indigenous, because right now they're covering up what's going on, and so having to her as Governor General of Canada, I'm not going to mention her name because I don't think it's important at the moment, no disrespect, but they're hiring another Governor General to take another person's place. But meantime, there's something going on here that's, to me, it sounds fishy. I'm sorry, folks, but it sounds too fishy. This doesn't. I think they're trying to hoping that residential schools brings a degree of closure. Now, they made a monument in Fort Providence, Northwest Territories, and memorializes around 300 buried children in unmarked graves, including the 161 children who were brought to the residential school in the community from up and down. The monument was installed to honor the people buried at the Fort Providence gravesite. It pays tribute to about 300 people who were buried there, including about 161 Indigenous children who were brought to the school from up and down the Mackenzie River Valley and who never returned home, and one child listed just days old. Lafferty said that the monument might offer a sense of closure. There's still more work to be done for survivors and descendants and future generations, and so we have better understanding of what took place in the Canadian history, Lafferty said. Sam Gargan, a former Grand Chief of the Deschaux First Nations, also went to the residential school. A story regarding, it says, NWT, Northwest Territories Community built memorial to name its residential school victims, and it says it was just a start, and that's dated, let's see here, July the 4th of 2021. It's best if you actually have a look it up. It's worth your while.
After he gets my coffee. Derrick Whiteskycloud from Metis Matters Radio. I'm on Wednesday nights at 5 o'clock. Vancouver Cooperative Radio is an innovative non-profit radio station and recording studio with a mission to produce creative and engaging programming for communities whose voices are unrepresented in the mainstream media. We need your financial support to help us achieve this mission. By donating today, you'll help us to continue providing access to training and equipment for over 300 volunteers who produce over 140 hours of original programming in over 10 languages. We strive to provide programming that does not discriminate against people on the grounds of sex, race, age, class, ability, orientation, or anything else. Since 1975, we have celebrated the rich cultural diversity of the Greater Vancouver area through our arts, our music, and spoken word programming. Donate today by visiting coopradio.org
or calling 604-684-8.
You want to listen to us anywhere you travel. Go into your Google Play Store and then download the Radio Player Canada app, and then you can listen to your favorite radio station, Co-op Radio CFRO 100.5FM.
Vancouver, local and not so local music. A music show that tells you where and when you can see and hear live music. With band dates, live musical guests, and a few surprises too. Radio Band Vancouver, Wednesdays, 3:30 to 5. It doesn't just play music and go home, it's out there, absorbing it. Experience Band Vancouver on Facebook at facebook.com/Vancouver. Radio Band